Heyo, I'm Colby from Sanitarium Productions. We're back with another G.I. Joe action figure review. In this episode, we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe Ninja Showdown set from the G.I. Joe Retaliation movie line. This is the first of two sets that came out in 2011, somewhere in that range anyways. It's a pretty cool looking set here. We get 3 figures in the set, plus a ton of accessories. It does come on a standard window boxed kind of presentation thing, featuring the movie line graphics, some of the action features on the side. Again, nice window so you can see the 3 figures included. On the top of it, we get just kind of generic information. The bottom has the other set that you can get, plus the UPC code there if you need to check that out for any reason. The sides have the generic Retaliation artwork on both sides. And on the back, we get this cool picture of the actual figures in the set. So we get a cool Snake Eyes looking figure, a Red Ninja, and Storm Shadow. And again, this thing does come with one of those crazy zip lines that they love so much in this movie set. So, yeah. We're going to go ahead and open this thing up, though. It's pretty cool looking, and I'm interested to see, what all we get in this set. And so there were actually 2 of these sets released in the first wave. The Ninja Showdown set and the Ninja Dojo set. We'll be looking at that one in a upcoming video, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But let's go ahead and just open this thing up. We got a piece of tape over here on the side like we normally do for most of these things. Just go ahead and slice that open. Get my fingers in here. Pop these tabs up and around. And reach in here and grab the box and pull it out. Nothing else left in the box this time, so I made sure not to miss anything. We do have an instruction sheet here. Go ahead and unfold it here. This is mostly just for the zipline pulley thing. Launcher pulley, attach zip line, move the thing up and down, etc., etc. So, pretty interesting. The figures come on a nice looking background thing here. It is evidently taped in. So, let's flip this thing over and cut this tape off the back. If I can see straight to do that. Then these little flaps just pull up, and then the bottom one pulls out, and we have the figures. This is actually a very cool looking background. I usually don't do a whole lot with these things, but I'm actually kind of interested in this one. It's a kind of a nice frozen temple thing here, so pretty cool. I may go ahead and unfold this thing and get a scan of it. I don't know. What do y'all do with those things? Drop some comments down below. Let me know what your method is for dealing with those things. Moving on to the figure set. We do have a lot of accessories here and some cool looking figures. So let's just dive into it. Start over here on the right side and pull out this crazy staff thing for Storm Shadow. Pull that figure out. We do have some rubber bands, so we're going to flip this thing back over to the other side and slice off all these rubber bands. One on Storm Shadow, one on Snake Eyes, and one on these Red Ninjas. Singular. There's also, looks to be one on this zipline mechanism, and I think that's it. So we should be good there. Let's see how well this works. Now we pull out Storm Shadow here and get rid of the rubber bands off his arms. We'll move on and grab Snake Eyes. He's got some cool swords in his hands, rubber banded on. We'll get to those in a few moments. And then our Red Ninja. His foot stuck. There we go. Cool looking Red Ninja. I don't have too many of these guys, so that's a nice addition. Accessory wise, we've got some tape holding most of these things in place, so let's go ahead and slice some tape while we're at it. Size. They love their tape, don't they? Big piece of tape holding all these things on. One thing that's always been difficult for me, I guess, with these sets is not knowing exactly which accessories are supposed to go with which figures. So I'm going to do my best here to try to figure that out, but always room for error, I'm sure. Start here with a short sword for, I'm assuming that's going to be for Storm Shadow. We've got two of these throwing dagger things. We have this cool bow. We've got two sais. I never can get the pluralization correct on those things. We got a backpack thing for Snake Eyes and his swords. A small handheld submachine gun. We've got a cool silencer. We've got a cool Uzi. We have a pretty interesting looking face mask with a piece of tape stuck to it. We've got this crazy zipline thing. We have the actual zipline launcher. And we got one of these cool hats. So there is all of our accessories. We'll toss this into our recycling bin now. Pull off some of these thingies. And just kind of move this stuff around and see what we got here. Something to this effect right here. Again, the accessories are swappable, so you don't necessarily have to group them in any particular way. This is just kind of how I see them in my head right now. So, yeah, so 3 cool figures. Where are we going to start here? Let's start with the accessories over here with Storm Shadow, why don't we? So first up, we do have this really cool looking staff blade thing. It's a little bit bendy, so we may have to take some hot water to that thing to get it to straighten out a little bit, but some pretty nice looking detail work in it. Again, molded all in black plastic, so not a whole lot you can see there, but still looks pretty cool. We have this cool looking short sword, molded all in gray. So that is one thing I will mention, is that usually when they do accessory sets like this, they try to keep most of the accessories kind of color coded, so that's kind of cool. We got 2 of these throwing dagger things, which again has some decent detail work in them. They look pretty nice. Hard to keep up with sometimes, so easy to lose. 2 of those. We get 2 sai. Again, pretty standard sai that we get for most of these G.I. Joe figures. Some decent detail work. And again, they're tiny, so they're easy to lose. Then we have this cool looking bow. compound bow. It is kind of collapsible, so you can move it around. It's got a little hinge joint there in the center. Some nice detail work though. You can kind of move that around. Do some interesting stuff with it. I don't know exactly why it closes down and locks like that. In my head, that's so that he can wrap it around his body, but it doesn't exactly work that way. But still kind of cool. We'll go ahead and take a look at the figure itself first. This is a pretty interesting Storm Shadow figure. It is, and again, I don't know how well the actual colors are going to show up here on screen, but instead of our traditional white for Storm Shadow, this is more of a real light beige, almost like a sand color. And then the gray accents and the black make it a very interesting figure. It pops pretty well, actually. And kind of traditional facial sculpt, some nice detail work. They've put a lot of effort into the details on the actual costume, so you can see like in his sleeves here, some kind of cool pattern stuff going on. Belt, his poofy pants, some cool armor on his legs, those crazy feet, cool wrist guards, some interesting details on the back as well. Little pouchy thing on his belt there. So all in all, a very interesting looking figure. I don't know if it's one of my favorite Storm Shadows. It's not one of my favorite Storm Shadow figures, but it is definitely interesting. I do like the way the collar is added on that thing. It's definitely a new iteration here that's does work pretty well. Articulation wise, the head does spin 360 degrees. We get plenty of up and down motion as well, and we get some head tilt there, so that's pretty nice. Standard ball and swivel at the shoulder joints. Standard ball and swivel at the elbow joints. Looks like it is just a swivel joint. No, it's actually a swivel and a rocker at the wrist. It's a little stiff on this one, but it does go up and down like that. So that's kind of cool. I do like that. You get the standard rib cage kind of twist feature there, and quite a bit of ab crunch motion for this figure, so that's pretty cool. Standard T-hooks at the waist, so full range of motion there. Double knee joints, and that crazy rocker swivel thing at his ankle. Pretty cool looking. I do like this figure. It's pretty nice. How well does it stack up against the rest of the figures? That's the big question here. So we'll move on to another figure. We'll go ahead and jump into the center here with Snake Eyes. We do have a couple of, we'll get to those in a minute. We got a standard sword sheath for all his weapons here. So not a whole lot of detail, but they've got some like little rivet joints. I can't talk today. Put in there. Standard back peg, and it's just kind of that open plastic there on the back. Go ahead and grab one of these swords. Line it up and slide it into the sheath. It does have a tendency to kind of poke out the back because it's that opening. So when you're putting it in there, just kind of push down with like your thumbnail to get it to line up enough to slide in there all the way. But it works pretty well, actually. So that's nice. And it fits on his back peg, well, somewhat easily. Move his little harness thing around and then poke it in there. not the best in the world for this figure. Let's see if it works better if we move that down some. Yeah, I don't want to do that. It kind of works like that. The actual peg itself is that real soft plastic, so it's kind of hard to get it to go in without bending all the way around, which is a little bit disappointing. There we go. So it works pretty well from that side. It looks a little odd, but it is what it is. So while we're at it, let's take a look at the actual sword. Again, this is a slightly different katana that we've seen in the past. It is not our traditional Snake Eyes movie sword. Got some nice detail work there on the hilt. You can see the wrapping on the blade itself, and that's pretty much it. So nothing too bad, but just nothing really all that impressive either. We do get the second short sword here, the Tanto or however you want to pronounce it. Although this one's a little bit longer than a traditional Tanto. Got the same detail work on the actual handle. And again, not a whole lot else going on with it, so. And it's still pretty interesting. I do like the fact that we do get two swords. Move on to a couple of the accessories here. First up, we've got this hand submachine gun thing. Some nice detail work in it. Pretty cool looking. And then we got this cool Uzi. Again, they have managed to put a lot of good detail work in these small weapons. Very nice looking. We also get this silencer that actually fits onto the end of the actual barrel. So you get a silence Uzi, which is kind of cool. Get some detail up close of that cool silencer. I do like the fact that these things are interchangeable. You can pop it on or take it off. The other thing that I occasionally do with these silencers is pretend that they're actually flashlights. So you can do that if you want, or just pretend that it's a silencer, whichever works better for you. I kind of find that it just depends on the circumstance as to what floats my boat that particular day. Moving on to the figure. Let me get rid of these rubber bands from those swords. These Hasbro folk just love their rubber bands. So, looking at the figure itself, it looks really nice. It's a nice gray color with some silver highlights and the black web gear. This is a pretty nice looking version of Snake Eyes. We've seen this sculpt before a couple of different times, so nothing really surprising about it, but I do really like it. Got some nice detail work in the actual face mask. Got that cool silver visor thing going on. Some really cool looking stuff on his web gear. Nice detail work all the way around. I will note that it does have this crossbar on the back that fits right over top of the backpack peg. So you have to kind of shift that up or down to get him to be able to use the backpack. The other thing I'll point out is this little pouch on his back sticks out quite a bit, so it's kind of hard to actually use a backpack. But besides that, some really cool looking detail. We've got the Arashikage clan symbol on his arm. Some cool knee pads. Cool details in the boots. Nice folds in the clothing everywhere. Some cool details there in the belt. That crazy armor on his shoulders. Some cool elbow pads. All in all, a very nice looking figure here. I'm going to stop right here because my battery is flashing and it's fixing to die. So I'm going to change that battery out real quick, and then we'll get into the articulation on Snake Eyes. Moving on from there, we were fixing to take a look at the articulation on Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes. So let's pick up right there where we left off. Articulation. The head does spin 360 degrees. Has a little bit up and down motion, a little bit of side to side motion, so not too bad. We do have standard ball and swivel at the shoulder joint there. Standard ball and swivel at the elbow joints. We do have a swivel and rocker at the wrist joint, so that is cool. And I'm just noticing this, but nope, it is not. Never mind. We do have the standard chest twist, rib cage twist feature there, and actually quite a bit of ab crunch motion here. His web gear is not getting in the way at all for that, so that is nice. Standard T-hook at the waist joint, full range of motion there, which is really good for ninjas. We do have a double knee joint here, and a one of those weird rocker swivelly ankle joints. So all in all, pretty awesome articulation on Snake Eyes here. This is really just a solid figure, to be honest with you. It's we've kind of been hit and miss with a lot of these Snake Eyes figures, and there are a lot of them out there. This is actually one of the better ones, in my opinion. I really do like all the detail work that we've got. I like the color scheme. I'm not crazy about the silver on the shoulder pads and the knee pads. It works, but I think I would have preferred something maybe like a gunmetal or something like that. Would have been a little bit nicer. It's fine on the visor, but I think it just adds a little too much on the rest of the figure. But that's a small nitpick. Still a really cool figure. Very nice that it's included in this set as well. So moving on, up next is our Red Ninja. He still has a rubber band on his arm, so we'll get rid of that. He doesn't actually come with too many accessories unless you want to include this zipline thing that we'll look at in a moment. We do have a cool face mask. Some nice details on it. The little fabric band thing has some nice kind of fold lines and things like that, so that's pretty cool looking. It's got that nice silver front. I think I would have preferred if it had a little bit of a texture with it. It looks right now like it's just not well done silver paint, but anyways, you can take this and slide it on top of the Red Ninja's head, sort of. So if you will flip the bottom, the back side where we've got the fabric tied, flip that under that little crown and his cowl, and then slide it forward, it fits pretty well. It doesn't work really well if you try it any other way, so it's pretty interesting. I don't know that it's really all that great, but it's interesting anyways. The other thing we get is this cool hat. It's like the Raiden hat or the Kung Lao hat from Mortal Kombat. The monk hat, I guess you could say. It actually fits on his head pretty well and actually stays on there pretty well also. So that's a nice little feature. It looks really weird from the underside, but from the top it does look pretty cool. I like that hat. You can also kind of swap this around if you wanted to and put it on anybody else. Doesn't quite fit as well with Snake Eyes, but it kind of works. And it does fit really loosely on Storm Shadow there, but it fits, so you can use it if you want to. But I like that. And it actually does work pretty well with this Red Ninja. The color scheme works really well. So, anyway, I do like it. That's cool. That's a really nice accessory. The only other accessory we get with the Red Ninja is this cool claw, which I'll pull off and we'll take a look at it. It's a 4-bladed claw, so not the Wolverine claws, but kind of standard ninja claw thing here. Made out of a very flimsy plastic. It's kind of brittle feeling, so not really squishy plastic, but I don't know, weird. The claws are a little bit close together, so probably need a little bit of warm water to separate those out a little bit more. Does fit on his hand fairly easily. Snap it in place and then just kind of lock it underneath like that. Pretty nice looking. And that's pretty much all of the accessories for the Red Ninja. So let's go ahead and look at the actual Red Ninja here. So pretty nice looking. The detail work, so it's basically a recolored sculpt that we have seen in the past. But it works really nice. It does have some really awesome details in all of the clothing folds and just the small amount of details needed for some of that stuff. So, and the actual like red parts here give off an impression that they have a little bit of texture on them. So that's interesting to me anyways. As opposed to this real glossy black plastic here. This kind of looks a little bit rougher, so I like that contrast anyways. Kind of the standard knee pads that we see with some of the rest of the guys. Standard armor, but again, some really nice detail work that you might overlook simply because we've seen it in the past in some other figures. But it looks really nice. So this is a really nicely sculpted figure. Articulation-wise, the head does spin 360 degrees. It has up and down motion. It has a little bit of side tilt, so that's pretty cool. Standard ball and swivel at the shoulder joint. That one's a little clicky, so I kind of like that, but it's there. Standard ball and swivel at the elbow joint. We do get a swivel joint and, yes, a rocker joint at that wrist. So that is very nice. Awesome little extra bit. Got the standard chest twist feature here. Pretty good ab crunch going on there. That little bandana thing or bandolier tie doesn't really detract anything from motion. So that's cool. Standard T-hook at the waist, so full range of motion there. We do get double knee joints and that same weird rocker twisty ankle joint. So all in all, a very cool looking figure. Very nice. Red Ninja. He's cool. The other accessory we get is this crazy Zipline Doodad, which has lots of pieces and clips and all sorts of stuff. I'm not a fan of these things, to be very honest with you, but it's interesting anyways. I mean, they did utilize it in the movie quite a bit, so I understand why, from a marketing perspective, they have continued to use them. I just really don't like it. Anyways, we got this crazy cannon blaster. What do they call it? It's a pulley system, I guess. So the way this works is there is a spring-loaded mechanism inside there. You take this grappling hook-looking thing and load it in place till it locks. Then there's a button on the front. Press it and it launches out. So that's cool. There's also a couple of these attachment points. So how does this work here? This piece here is supposed to attach to like the Red Ninja's arm. So it's like an arm launcher, I guess. So you attach it to the arm and he zips across with it like that. So it's interesting anyways. Let's pull it off his arm for a second. You do have these two clips that you can use to attach to pretty much anything. They're made out of kind of a soft plastic, so they're pretty easy to get to attach to things. I'm going to attach it to, what do I have over here? Anything? I don't have anything. There, we'll attach it to a spring back here on this light kit. That's not working. Why don't I have an attachment point when I need one? Bear with me a second here. Alright, so we got it attached. There. It's attached to one end. You take this little thing here, your little pulley thing. The top bit has actually two chambers for this. So you take the actual string itself and just kind of stick it like right here and then pull down on it to get it to actually snap underneath to get it to load into that chamber. It's a little aggravating, but it works fairly well. But anyways, that just allows you to slide back and forth. So it works for what it is. Again, I'm not really all that crazy about this concept wise, but it works. I mean, it's a zip line. It does definitely work. So let me try to pull some slack out of that. So you can just zip doodah all the way around, but I don't know. Again, I don't really much care for these things, but there are some handholds on the side as well, so you don't have to only use that little arm thing. You can have him grab onto the side and dangle from it, though he's liable to lose his grip and fall off. But you can have like two characters on there at once. I guess you can also, for whatever reason, attach it to his leg. So if you want to do a crazy aerial battle, you can definitely do that. And he zips down and pulls up stuff, and so it can be a lot of fun. And again, it's more targeted to a younger audience with the movie line itself. Also, let me unhook this thing. It's just not my favorite cup of tea. But I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that love these things. Otherwise, they wouldn't be included. So it's a big mess of accessory. So there we go. That is all the figures in the set. It's a pretty good deal for the price. Again, the set actually came out in 2011. You get a really awesome Red Ninja figure, a really awesome Snake Eyes figure, and a fairly cool Storm Shadow figure. You get a ton of accessories. You also get a zip line. The price on these things it goes all over the place. They don't usually come up for sale too often. I don't know if that's just because they didn't sell really well with that whole movie line, and I don't know. So they end up going for a little bit more of a premium price than you would actually think. So, you know, you just have to use your own judgment. I think I got all 4 of these sets for, I don't know, like $120. So it comes out to roughly, what is that? 100? Let's call it 120 and 4, so $30 per package. So, yeah, you do the math in your head, figure out if it's a good deal for you. I really do like the Red Ninja figure. I like the Snake Eyes figure. The Storm Shadow figure I don't really have much use for. So you may want to just pick up the figures individually and kind of go from there. But it's a pretty cool set regardless. That's all the time we have for today, so thanks for watching. Feel free to drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think of this cool Ninja Showdown set from the G.I. Joe Retaliation movie line. Which is your favorite figure out of the set? Which was your least favorite figure? Let us all know. Feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Feel free to go check out some of our previous videos. Be on the lookout for more awesome videos coming down the pipeline. And until next time, Yo Joe!